Industry units code 3 response 215 just occurred, 1 less than 3. 47.1 and 1 and 1.5 respond code 3, an additional unit. Additional industry unit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Network News Hour, starring the mad prophet of the airways, Howard Deal.
Good evening. This is Tuesday, October 17th, 21 days until the 2006 midterm elections. History does not play well at this White House. Expressionless faces would probably greet references to how John Adams ended his political career by insisting he needed the Alien and Sedition Acts to silence his critics in the newspapers, or how Franklin D. Roosevelt's executive order to seize Japanese Americans during World War II necessitated a formal presidential apology 8 presidents later.
This was Sarah Palin, and she said, un-American. Now, she said it was just his policies, not him. But those words are license words. They're permission words.
You know, I did a little bit of research just before the show. It's on this little napkin here. I looked up the definition of sedition, which is conduct or language inciting rebellion against the authority of the state. And a lot of these statements, especially the ones coming from people like Glenn Beck and to a certain extent Sarah Palin, rub right up close to being seditious.
Well, and this is, and Joe's right, and they'll name another person, name Rush Limbaugh, who uses this phrase, constantly talks about the Obama administration as a regime. That phrase, which has connotations of tyranny. And what's so interesting about it to me, to get to Nora's point, what is the focus, what's the cause of this? You think back to 1994, there was Ruby Ridge, there was Waco, there were triggering incidents. There's been nothing like that. The only thing that's changed in the last 15 months is the election of Barack Obama. And as far as I can see, in terms of the policies that Obama is implementing,
you think that's
there's nothing there that, there's nothing
you think
there
that triggered the increase in the number of militias?
Oh, I certainly do, yeah.
If you believe in the seamless mutuality of government and big business, come out and say it. There is a dictionary definition, one word that describes that toxic blend. You're a fascist. Get them to print you a T-shirt with fascist on it.
The latest information from Congress that, there are increasing concerns about this possibly getting out of hand, some of this violent imagery and rhetoric.
Well, I've been to many tea parties around the country, and I've yet to see any real violence towards anybody. So I think it's a bit overstated.
Were you there on Saturday night? Were you there on Saturday, though, at the Capitol when Congressman Lewis and other members of the Congressional Black Caucus were greeted with derogatory racial slurs when another member of Congress was spat upon? Were you there for that?
Wasn't there for that, but saw the video about it and determined that a lot of what they were saying had happened actually hadn't occurred. Like I said, I've been to hundreds of tea parties around the country. What I can tell you is I've never seen any blacks lynched at one of them. That's still one of the things that's only for the Democrats to hold a distinction about.
But Kevin, are you okay when President Obama, the first African-American president, is depicted the way he's depicted on some of these signs, whether it's the Hitler mustache or whether it's being depicted as like the Joker? I mean, is that okay with you?
It's par for the course. Every president that's been elected has gone through something like that. Bush has been was demonized as a gorilla, as a chimpanzee, as a cowboy, cowpoke, and a host of other things. In fact, he was depicted as Hitler many, many times. I did a blog about the idea that Bush was depicted as Hitler more than Obama was. So that's just par for the course.
On a more serious note, we're now joined by actor and activist Janine Garofalo. Good to see you.
Thank you. There's nothing more interesting than seeing a bunch of racists become confused and angry at a speech they're not quite certain what he's saying. It sounds right to them, and then it doesn't make sense. Which let's be very honest about what this is about. It's not about bashing Democrats. It's not about taxes. They have no idea what the Boston Tea Party was about.
That's right.
They don't know their history at all. This is about hating a black man in the White House. This is racism straight up. That is nothing but a bunch of tea-bagging rednecks.
Contact the victim, put out a broadcast. Can I get the rest of the units to 927C? Report to location. And can SEC get a check on an airship? Notify Almani. And notify Almani of the 250 that just occurred.
10-4, and the vehicle again now seen westbound, 2 males Hispanic, and they're 20 years old, black hood, sweatshirts, Title 1.
Mindset of the last several years, let's put it that way, since 2000 has been to shut up critics. If you don't like a war policy, you get branded with a name. You're unpatriotic. You're a cut and runner. You're an appeaser. You can't argue politics in America anymore. You can't question power, because if you question it, you're going to be drummed out of acceptable society. You're going to be called an appeaser. These magic words are used for one purpose, to shut you up so that they can proceed with the policy. A society like ours, arguing over policy, arguing over what our role should be in the world, shouldn't be unpatriotic or seen as unpatriotic. In most cases, should be seen as the essence of patriotism. Giving a damn about our policy, what it ought to be. Arguing, standing up and having a real debate. We didn't have that when we went to war in Iraq. You know, some of it's the media's fault. Some of it's just that people were intimidated out of challenging this president. The shutting up of opposition is critical to running a country in an undemocratic way. Let's put it that way. And so you have buzzwords like appeasers or cut and run, and they're used over and over again by the most mindless people. And the trouble with them is they tend to work. The ditto heads can use them. Anybody can use them, and they seem to have the same effect. They cause people to run.
And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Please be advised that all communications on this channel are being recorded, and violations noted are being sent to the Federal Communications Commission for referral to the Department of Justice for possible criminal prosecution before the U.S. courts. Your immediate cessation of unauthorized radio traffic is urgently requested.